Rekha ji.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm just going to start.
Yeah, sure.
कल वाली रिकॉर्डिंग का क्या किया? Neelu madam, shall we start?
Yes, we can start.
Good morning to one and all. Our today's prominent speakers and esteemed participants, with great joy and immense exultation, I, Dr. Rupali Chaturvedi, feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all presented here on the second day of Atal AICT sponsored FDP Rejuvenating Teaching Skills and Life Skills Management. Today, I feel great honor to introduce our second day of first speaker, Dr. Neelu Singh, Dr. Neelu Mukesh Singh. She has done her PhD in linguistics from JNU, New Delhi. She has previously worked with John Hopkins University, Washington DC, and JNU, New Delhi. Her primary teaching interest areas include communication and applied linguistics. She received a Fulbright scholarship in 2014-15, and she has been awarded gold medals for academic excellence at the post-graduation and graduation levels. Now, may I invite Dr. Neelu Singh to address our esteemed participants.
Thank you, Rupali ji, for your kind introduction. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning. I welcome all of you to this session, and I'm looking forward to a great participation from all of you. Because this is something based on communication, we will stick to the key, which is let the conversation going on, right? So we will keep discussing about things, we will keep taking each other's opinions and views, and we'll try to learn from each other in this session, okay? So in this session, I want to discuss about how to design or structure a class in communication. So before I start my talk, I would like to share one of the memes that grabbed my attention. When I looked at it, I debated with myself on its truthfulness. And I argued both in favor of it and against it. But I thought it would be better if I could take your perspective on it. I'll just show you that meme and you can tell me what do you think about it. Is my screen visible?
Yes, madam. It's visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, visible.
Okay, take a look at this picture and tell me what do you think about it.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Hello, ma'am. Myself Priyanka Kumari. Ma'am, the picture is basically stating that what is being offered in class is very different from what is being asked to do during the exam. So the expectation level is basically increasing when it comes to exam, but there is certain kind of gap in between the two process.
Okay. Anyone else? How many of you agree to this and how many of you disagree to this? Pradeep ji, do you want to? You have raised your hand. I can see some people have raised their hands. Do they want to say something? Kindly unmute yourself and then you can tell me your opinions on it. Hello?
Hello,
Okay.
ma'am. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, ma'am. According to the picture, I can say that sometimes students can only understand till the cooked rice, even though the teacher explains the whole biryani process. But in exam, they can only. But in exam, they'll see that yes, teacher has already explained all this process, but we have listened only up to the cooked rice process. Sometimes this also happens.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Uh,
Anyone
yeah.
else has any other opinion on it?
I
Hello.
also, very good morning, ma'am. I
Good
also
morning.
have a common opinion like whatever we are serving to others is very common. We never think about their understanding level, the level of difficulties or all. But whatever their perceptions and their process of understanding, I think so. Perceptions are totally different towards this.
Yes, definitely. So it's a two-way process, right? We can't say something just taking one side. I cannot say something only being a teacher or only being a student. So when I came across this meme, I understood that when I thought of it as a student, I could relate to it instantly. So, as a teacher, when I go to a classroom and I see, especially in Indian system, right, you have always a mixed bag. You don't have students who are very homogeneous, who will have the same level of learning, who will have the same level of understanding. And there is one thing which I noticed that even after so many years of writing answers to questions in each and every exam, I have come across so many students at the level, graduation level, that they don't know how to write a paragraph effectively. There are so many students who don't know when to change a paragraph. And the funny thing is that they have been writing long answers since ages, right? And we say that practice makes man perfect. And since they have been practicing for 20 years, I at least expect them to know when to change a paragraph, right? But today, if I tell my students, or if I tell, I walk into a classroom, I know there are so many students who wouldn't know how to write an effective paragraph. They wouldn't know where to change a paragraph, that matter. Now, the bigger question here is that if we believe that it is true, to whatever extent, I'm not saying that it's completely true, because I do agree that both the sides have to be in tandem with each other when we are learning something or when we are teaching something. But the thing is that if it is true, even if it's true for 5% or 10%, then what can we do to change it or to improve it, right? As teachers, our continuous effort is to improve the outcome of learning, is to make it easier for children or students to learn whatever we are trying to teach them, right? So let me ask you a simple question. If I ask you to teach a 3 or 4 year old child how to ride a bicycle, how will you do it? Have you ever seen a child learning a bicycle, or as a child you must have learned how to ride a bicycle, right? So what's the process? How do they learn? Or how will you teach if you have been given a chance to teach a child to ride a bicycle? How would you do that?
Initially, with the help of a parent or some senior member, the child is assisted. Later on, when the child learns a bit, he or she is left free so that he or she can also learn on her own.
Right, right.
So, starting from assisting alone, so that the child can take own decision. So that can be a way, or
Okay,
what we
You
usually do.
okay.
you also put those small side wheels,
Side wheels, yes, yes.
right?
For
That to help them balance because they don't have balance, right? Like they don't
right.
know how to balance a cycle straight away. So you put those small
Mm-hmm.
wheels on
Mm-hmm.
both sides or one side, whichever. So yeah, that helps them balance. And of course you
Mm-hmm.
supervise them then.
Right. And what do you think will happen if we give them the bicycle straight away and leave them unsupervised?
Obviously they'll have an accident because
Possibility
Right.
they
will be more.
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
That is
More
why the
than
culture is
10,
of
more than
tricycle, I think, apart from bicycle. They
Mm-hmm.
used to use bicycles. They're not using bicycles, they're using tricycles for their safety purposes.
Okay.
Or, e-
Yes.
or even it might have a side effect in the child mind if some accident take place. No, no, no. I have to stay away from it. So that can also be one possibility
True.
if the right
more,
proper
more
training or
uh,
proper
ma'am,
execution
am I
will not
audible?
be.
Yes. Yes. You are audible.
Yeah, more, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
More than all these instructions, we need to give the confidence to the child that we are there with them.
Yeah,
The
exactly. I was
support.
about to add this point actually. The child
Mm-hmm.
will be always knowing that their parents will be holding them back. So they will be also riding freely.
Right. So all these responses that you gave, they are absolutely correct. They're absolutely true. The thing is, when a child, we have to provide the support to a child when the child is learning something. And this support comes in various forms. It can come in forms of the supporting wheels. It can come in form of, holding the seat for them, or even, when we consciously plan that let's not give them a bicycle, give them a tricycle because we are concerned about their safety. That's also giving them a support of some kind. Also, the confidence that you're talking about, just being there and letting them know that even if they fall down, we are there to help them out. So that's also a kind of support, right? When we do not provide this support, imagine that the child is just left unsupervised. The child will fall very frequently and will start fearing the process of. And once you fail, once you fall, you do have that reluctance inside you to ride that bicycle again because you are scared of falling again, right? There may be a small chance, and there are children like that who would take this as a. Yes, somebody wants to say something? Okay. So, there will be some children who would like to challenge it and they would still try to learn. That theek hai, koi baat nahi, I just fell down, I'll just dust myself off and I'll try it again. There are students like that. But there are also a lot of students who, when they are hurt, when they fall, when they fail, they stop the process of learning. And this is what happens in a classroom. When a student fails initially in a task, he or she feels so demotivated that they lose their interest in learning. So to avoid this, we need to ensure that they fall or fail as less as possible. We cannot avoid it completely because it's. Hello.
Ma'am, we lost you.
Hello.
Yes.
Am I
Hello.
audible
Yes,
now?
madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. So what I was saying is that we cannot avoid these failures. Hello.
Hello. Yes,
Um,
madam.
uh,
Am I audible now?
No.
Ma'am, you're breaking up.
Yes.
Okay, I think there might be some internet fluctuation
Technical
at my
issue.
end.
Okay.
Am I audible right now?
No,
Yes,
it's
yes, ma'am.
very clear.
Okay, okay, thank you. So we cannot avoid this process of, failure or failing down completely.
Hello.
Hello, I'm so sorry. I think there's some network problem at my end. Right. So just like while learning how to ride a bicycle, the child receives support from the wheels or from the parents. We need to support the students at various levels of learning process, even in the classroom. Okay. And when the learning proceeds, as the learning proceeds,
Hello.
as the learning proceeds, hello.
Yes, madam. It's breaking up. Your voice.
Okay.
Hello.
Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. I'll
Yes,
do
yes, yes.
something
It
about it.
happens. No problem.
Maybe I'll turn off my video for some time. Probably it's
Yes,
taking up a
yes.
lot of data. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. No problem.
So what I'm saying is that we need to provide assistance even in classroom. And once we see that the learning has proceeded, we gradually take away this support.
Hello, Neelu, madam. You are not audible.
Hello.
Yes. Now your
Um,
voice is clear.
give me 1 minute, okay? I'll just do
Yes,
something
yes,
about it.
yes.
Hello,
Hello, yes, audible.
am I audible now?
Yes, yes, madam.
Okay, so sorry for the
No,
interruption.
no, no problem. It happens. You
Yeah,
carry on, please.
okay. So gradually we take away this support and, we remove the side wheels, we don't hold the bicycle anymore, and we let the child ride the cycle independently. So similarly, we have to design or structure our lessons in such a way that we provide support to the students at various levels. And once they are capable of uh, doing, um, I'll do one thing. I'll just log out and I'll log in again.
Okay,
I
okay,
think
madam.
there's some problem. Yeah.
Okay. Hmm? Neelu, madam, you are not audible.
Hello?
Hello. Now it's clear. Your voice is
Okay.
clear.
Okay. Okay. So today I want to discuss some of the commonly taught topics in communication, such as email writing, interviews, and group discussions. I hope these are some of the common topics that all of us teach to our students.
Hello, Neelu, madam.
Hello?
Yes, yes. Please carry on.
Yes. So I want to show you some examples. I want to discuss some examples with you of how we can structure or plan our classrooms on communication. So first, let's talk about email writing. Hello?
Audible.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if all of you teach communication, but I'm sure all of you must have studied, how to write emails.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, madam.
Yes. So when you teach your students about email etiquettes, or when you learned it as a student, how do you think it was done? Like, what was the process of learning email writing?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
I think
Neelu,
my
madam, your
voice
voice
is,
is not clear. It's not
yes, I think I'm
coming.
losing somewhere. Yeah, sometimes I can hear you and sometimes I cannot. Um,
Same with us.
yeah, I've tried looking at my connection.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, you're audible actually. You can continue.
Okay, so I was talking about email writing. How do you go about teaching your students about email etiquettes? What's your process? Or if you have learned how to write emails, how did you learn it? What was the process? Could you hear my question?
Uh, Ma'am, actually, hello. Am I
Yes, yes,
audible, ma'am?
yes, you are audible.
I
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I was saying, ma'am, that like if I talk about my own personal experience, then actually I never learned to how to write a email, especially for official purpose. But I have learned it
Mm-hmm.
looking into the pattern how other colleagues or seniors used to write down. So that gives us a way to learn.
Okay, that's one of the methods. Anyone else?
Like in childhood also we learn lot of things in English or in grammar, but somehow the application aspect is not dealt in detail, like where you will be actually using it. So fundamental learning is there, but how to build up upon that is missing. So
Mm-hmm.
it needs what I feel is that concern is in that area that needs to be focused.
Yes, I understand your concern.
Excuse me,
Like all of
can I
all
speak,
of it.
ma'am?
Yes,
Can
yes,
I
please,
speak, ma'am?
please do.
See, as you asked me, like how we are supposed to write the email, or how we are supposed to teach our students or the kids to write emails. So I would like to say on this regard that first of all, we have to teach to the students that email should be precise, and it should be short to the point, and it should be in formal writing. Email should be to the point, precise, and with the all the keeping everything on mind like date, subject, and it should be precise. The content should be precise and to the topic. That's it, ma'am.
Okay, great. Anyone else wants to add to it or has some other response?
Yeah, ma'am. I think at this age, like I'm 40s, so I really personally didn't learn it from anyone. There were no
Mm-hmm.
sessions conducted on how to write a resume, but
Hmm.
basically we learned as we practiced, as we write, and every time we do a mistake. Generally, as a member of the department, when we take it to the principal, and when the higher officials check that, and they keep telling that this is not the way you write, you need to do the correction. But today I find the students are more ease at writing resumes. One way is through googling, because there are
Mm-hmm.
multiple templates available in the internet, and with
Mm-hmm.
sessions like HR, especially during the time of placements, with we arrange HR people to orient the students how to write their resume, how will the
Hmm.
resume will be how well the resume should be designed. And
Hmm.
I believe nowadays we have even courses, like in Coursera there is one of the course where it says resume writing skills.
Hmm.
So by encouraging the students to learn in a professional way how to come up with their resume writing, this is something we are helping out the students.
Right. So these are some of the various methods which we employ while learning or teaching. any of the aspects of communication, right? In this particular session, we will deal with one of the pedagogical tools, and I'll tell you how we do it, right? So we prepare a schema for it, and this scheme can be modified according to the preference of the educator, the teacher, or depending upon the learning outcomes which are desired at the end of the student, right? So just imagine that this is a classroom for email writing. The first thing that what I use in my classroom is an icebreaker activity, icebreaker or a warm up session for the students. So in this part, what I do is the first thing I have to do for my students is to make them feel comfortable in starting a conversation. Okay. So I let them discuss some important differences between face to face conversation and email writing. Now, what I am doing here is I want to teach them something new, but I want to correlate it with something which they already know. So, for example, if the students already know, they have already dealt with a face to face conversation, they can at least give me points on what a face to face communication includes. And obviously, all of them have received emails at some point of time, so they can at least tell me that when they receive an email, then what are the components and how are these two things different. So this is where the discussion starts, and they will come up with answers like, in email writing we have email IDs, we have subject line, we have salutation, which is different from actual face to face conversation. So we list them out. Then what we do is we divide the entire process of email writing into various chunks. For example, email address. So you have to sensitize them that what kind of email IDs they should be using if they are using it, for a professional purpose or for a personal purpose in an formal situation, in an informal situation. So, there are so many students who would come up with IDs like cool dude at, some gmail.com, or I am the god at yahoo.com, something like that. So we have to at least sensitize them that when they are using these IDs for formal situations, then they have to be more, they should, the IDs should include their first name or last name or even the organization they are associated with, so that it sounds more formal. So all of you have that formal email ID, right? Like at your workplace, you have that formal email ID. So you have to tell them the difference between the two. Then what we do is we talk about the subject line. That's the next chunk. So for subject line, what I do is I plan an activity. I design an activity. I give them the content of the email, and then I ask them to write the subject line of that for that email in not more than 4 or 5 words, because like somebody said that we have to maintain the specificity, we have to maintain the precision, and all these things. So you have to do that. Everything, the instructions should be given explicitly, that don't write more than 4 words or don't use more than 5 words. And then comes similarly the salutation. What are some of the salutations which are used in professional emails versus what are the salutations which are used in personal emails? Then comes the email body, which you divide into introduction, the purpose, the context, then you talk about consideration, etc. And then closing, how to close the email. And then also you talk about the language part, where you talk about capitalization or grammar or the tone of the language. All these things are important, right? So one of the methods. I'm not saying this is the only method. I'm just presenting an example before you that this is one of the methods where you divide the entire topic into smaller chunks, and you deliver the learning, or you deliver your lesson at various levels of that chunk. And when you are doing this at each chunk, you are assisting the student in learning that particular step. So that's one of the methods. In you use all these steps in describing the chunks, and then you create a whole email out of it. So first you learn the email IDs, you learn the subject line, you learn the introduction, then you learn the closing, and then you compile everything, and then you create a whole email out of it. Once a guided email is completed, the students may be asked to write an email on a new topic independently. So first thing you do is that you help the students do that. You can do that either by showing it to them. Like some of you said that, you never learned it from anyone. You just saw it from somewhere, maybe a senior, and then you were receiving feedback from your higher official. Somebody was there to tell you that, okay, this is not how you write it, or this is not the correct way to write it. And even when students are taking help from Google, that is also a show and tell method, right? They're seeing it and they're learning it. So providing support at each level of this chunking method is one of the activities which one of the methods how I design or structure my classroom on email writing, and I have seen that it has been very successful so far. And then I take up, I follow up with the candidates. I give them feedback. Either the feedback is given by the teacher or the peers. Sometimes, your friends can also give you, like the students, they all work in a group. So it's always good to encourage students to give feedback to each other. That ways, some they don't feel intimidated at times. When a teacher gives a feedback in front of all the students, the students may feel intimidated. But when they receive feedback from their friends, then probably that fear is not there. And vice versa. I mean, it depends. So you have to ensure that they receive feedback. But again, the process of giving feedback is again altogether a new topic that should be done in a very well mannered way. Once you are done with one type of email, like you have guided them, you have seen how they are doing it, then you can move on to next type of email. For example, if you have uh, seen that they can do well with promotional emails, then you can give them other topics. Like now you can write emails on cases of conflict or controversy, right? So this is how you move step by step into that direction. Now, this was about emails. I'll give you three examples. One was for email. Second, I would like to share another very commonly used topic in any class of communication, which is interviews, right? So we always introduce the whole situation of facing an interview to students so that they are more confident when they are actually in that situation, right? So again, I would like to take inputs from you. How do you teach, or how would you like to teach interviews in a classroom? What would your process be? Hello, Somnath ji, you're raising your hand. You want to give your response? Hello.
Hello, yes, madam.
Yes. So I'm asking, if you were asked to teach interviews, how to face interviews in a classroom, how would you do that? Like, what would your approach be?
Okay, may I answer, madam?
Yeah, please.
Dr. Rupal, yes, sir. As a training teacher, I would conduct mock interview in our classroom and see their drawback, show their drawback while they how they maintain their verbal communication and non-verbal communication during mock interview. So
Right.
they will prepare for the final interview.
Hmm. Anyone else?
There is one
Yes, ma'am.
hand raised from
Can I
Somnath.
speak, ma'am?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
please.
Okay, ma'am. This is Shabina Arif, attending from Saudi Arabia. What I would suggest in this regard is like, for suppose in the class, if we are teaching how to how to face the interview, of course she have said, we will have a mock interview. What we will do is we can create groups of the students, and we will ask them to interview each other. And for an individual tip I would like to give is like we will ask the students to be real in the interview in front of the interviewer, and don't be nervous, be confident in whatever you are speaking, and try to avoid the political issues. And suppose if you are not able to answer any questions, means you can say, sir, I don't have any knowledge of in this regard.
Mm-hmm.
Try to have the interview in the positive manner, and to try to avoid those things in which we have the issues. So like these types of tips we will be giving. And first what we will do is we will create the groups in the class, and we will ask the peer discussion.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your response. So, yes, both of you, the responses that you have given are right. And mostly that is what we do while teaching interviews. We do a mock interview, we ask students various questions that may be asked in a job interview and that students face in future, right? This is a good method, and this is the method which we have been practicing. Now, we can just do something more about this method. Like, definitely it's a good method and it has been working, but if we again go step by step, we want to take baby steps, and at every step we want to ensure that we give support to the students. Then how can we structure this entire plan of teaching interviews to students? So first of all, what we can do is building a context. um, to make the students feel that this is what an interview looks like, we have to build a context. So what you can do is you can start by showing a video of an interview, and then let the students discuss what parts of the interview went wrong and what parts worked, or how it could have been better. Allow the students to think about it, let the entire interview process sink in, and let them discuss about the good parts of it, the bad parts of it, what were the drawbacks, what is their opinion about it, and then you can have a discussion on what you believe about it, right? Now, a very common thing in any interview is to introduce oneself, right? And that is something which we ask students to prepare. That this you have to prepare a good introduction for your interview, and these are some of the things which you should be telling in your interview, right? Now, to develop that ability naturally, what you can do is like Sabiha, you were the one who spoke from Saudi.
Shabina, this is Shabina from
Shabina,
Saudi
Shabina.
Arabia.
Yeah, Shabina. Like you suggested that, pairing the students up and letting them have that role play. I think that's a good idea. And what we can do is that we can pair two students and let them list out what they would like to know about the other person, their educational background, their interests, their achievements, etc. And let them answer these questions and prepare an introduction for themselves. Once they are ready with the
Here,
introduction,
ma'am, I want to add here, ma'am.
yeah,
Actually, I'm preparing for my IELTS exam actually. So I've been watching the IELTS interviews a lot. So it has contributed me in that as well.
yes, yes. So it's always good to have a precedent. When you know that this is something how it happens, you always have an idea of it. And the whole, I'll talk about the pedagogical tool which I am discussing through these schemas in detail after I have discussed these examples. But you will see that it involves action, it involves language, and it involves images. So once all these three things are in combination with each other, the understanding level is higher and the learning outcome is better than before. So then the stage 2 of the entire schema comes, which is conducting the mock interview for the class. Now, in the first round, what I do is I only ask close questions or a yes no question, and then we discuss how it went. So for example, if there's a question like, do you believe you are suitable for this position? So it's a yes no question. The candidate or the student is supposed to answer only in yes or no. And then The second stage comes where you conduct another round, and in that you ask only open ended questions. For example, how do you think you can contribute to this organization? And then you discuss the difference between these two rounds. Important, the students have to be aware of the close ended questions, the open ended questions, how much to speak, where to speak, all these things. So meanwhile, let the other students take notes during the mock interview and later discuss some of the follow up questions and answer. Let them also observe the non-verbal cues and share their opinions on which ones worked and which ones didn't, the positive and the negative non-verbal cues. Now it's very important, and we all teach now non-verbal cues when we are actually teaching our students how to appear for an interview. And one of the activities which I do in the classroom is I ask my students to click pictures of the student who is appearing for the mock interview. And later on, we look at those pictures and we discuss, because when the candidate is actually presenting himself or herself in that interview, he or she may not be conscious of the non-verbal cues that he or she is giving, right? And while the other students can observe it, he himself or she herself cannot observe it, right? So we take pictures and then we go through them, and then we look at the ones which are the positive ones, then we look at the ones which are not so positive ones, and then we try to work upon it. So this is again, we are going step by step. We want to take everything into consideration, but we also want to provide support at each and every step of this learning of appearing for an interview. So through this design, students learn not only what to expect while introducing themselves, they also become aware of how to distinguish between open-ended and close-ended questions, and hence where to stop. Apart from this, they also learn about body language, which is an essential part of facing interviews, right? Is it clear so far? Do you have any questions?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Okay, thank you. The third example, which I would like to discuss, is group discussion. Again, GB is something which we have all done or we have all taught. Like I'm not sure about teaching, but we have all participated at some point or the other in a group discussion, right? What do you think are some of the challenges that students face in a group discussion? If you have observed students who are participating in GD, what are some of the common challenges that you think that they face?
They fail to communicate.
Okay.
And sometimes in a group, there
Individual
is always.
differences.
Sorry, I couldn't get the second point.
Yeah, individual differences are there. Like everyone, they have their own
Individual
opinion.
differences. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? I think two of you were speaking, and I could hear only one of you.
Ma'am, I
Yeah,
can
and
speak.
sometimes.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Sometimes some of the students they don't get opportunity to enter into the discussion.
Right. Right. That's also there.
Shyness or student many a time feel shy, and even I observe that they are not able to put up their words in proper way. Whatever they want,
Hmm.
they are not express. And
Right.
how to express your views, like how to start your statement, so that is also issue.
Right. Yes, all these are some of the common challenges that students face in a group discussion. And I think the biggest challenge is how to start really. Like when you say, okay, start, and then the students think who is going to start and who will take the initiative. So we have to deal with all these things, right? And again, in this example, which I am going to discuss right now, I have again prepared a schema for it. And what I do is I initiate with an icebreaker. Icebreaker because I want all of them to be comfortable before they start the group discussion, and they are ready to speak. So what I do is I select a small group of students and they discuss. I give them a topic. For example, there are guests to be invited for the cultural fest. So each student has to suggest names and discuss the reason behind inviting them. Like I want to suggest that okay, Professor so and so be invited because he is, an eminent personality or something like that. So all the students have to suggest names and they have to discuss the reason why they are inviting them, while the other students, the rest of the class, will observe them and they will take notes on each candidate. Then later, they will discuss which candidate was assertive, which which is the one who lost control over emotions, who was analytical, who was the one who could not communicate, all these things. And once we are aware of these challenges, then we try to overcome these challenges by discussing the sub skills which are required in a group discussion. So all these sub skills of being analytical or having control over emotions or being supportive or being persuasive, all of these are then one by one dealt with. So for example, if you want to talk about being analytical, so this skill can be developed by giving students the topic individually and ask them to brainstorm or mind map of all of the possible subtopics they could speak about. For example, if you give them a topic on, say, COVID 2020, and ask them to brainstorm about it and prepare a mind map of what are the different topics that they can speak about. The students then swap their notes and they assess or analyze the relevance of each of the subtopics. And together, the students then draw up a fresh list or mind map and discuss how the subtopics can be linked together, along with examples or reasons for any arguments. Because when you are making a mind map, you are actually thinking of all the possible things which can come under that topic. But given the situation or the topic which has to be discussed in the classroom, you try to link which one is relevant and which is not relevant, and then you prepare a fresh mind map in consultation with your peers, and you give examples and you reason out, you give your own arguments. So when you are doing this entire process, you are actually developing the analytical skills of looking into a topic and choosing that this is something which is relevant and I need to include this, and this is something which is irrelevant and I can just sideline it, and this is not required here. Okay. And if you're teaching online, there's this tool called bubble.us, bubbl.us, and it's used to create concept maps online. So I know that nowadays we are all teaching online, so that shouldn't be a roadblock in teaching concept maps. You can use this app and create concept maps online. And next skill, if say we have to teach them how to be persuasive. So what I do is that this is a skill which is very useful when students need to make decisions on how to do something. And in a GD, it's very important to be persuasive because ultimately you have to ensure that the other person or the other party is convinced on your argument, right? So the way you persuade them is very important. So a fun activity to develop this skill is to give groups of students a topic and then ask them to decide on the profile of the perfect candidate, creating a list of 7 adjectives. So you give them like a list of 10 candidates, the profile, and then you have to say, the students have to decide that these are the students with best profile, and they have to give them adjectives, right? The students are then regrouped and they're asked to persuade the other members of the group that their selection is the best while compiling a second negotiated list. Now, this group of students, they are, they have to convince the other group that the list that they have created is best, okay, and their candidates are the best, and they have to prepare a second list and they have to negotiate that whose candidate's name will go into that list. So in this activity, what happens is the group members who retain the most from their original list, they are the winners. And note, what they do is that the other students who are watching them, they note down the useful phrases that they hear from students while doing this task, and they discuss these at the end of the future reference. So the whole idea behind it is how persuasive you can be, and it can be on something as little as this, that okay, my candidate, the one which I have chosen is better because of these reasons, and whoever is more persuasive will definitely retain the name of his or her candidate. So using these small activities, fun activities, you can inculcate these sub skills of GD. So you have to first identify that okay, these are the things which I want my students to learn. In a GD, they should know that they have to control their emotions. They cannot be, angry, or they cannot be screaming, and that, and for that you have to develop an activity, or you have to do it in a way that they understand it implicitly, that okay, this is not something which I have to do, and in case if I'm feeling like this, then this is how I need to go about it, right? Or if you are teaching how to support, like somebody is not getting a chance to speak, you have to do something, you have to design your task in a way that a student or a candidate supports the other candidate, and invites and encourages the other person to speak up in that GD. So these, depending upon the learning outcomes which you desire from your students, you plan your activities, you structure your uh, the entire lesson plan. Okay. So these are some of the examples of how we can design a teaching plan for communication. Now we have discussed three examples. One was email writing, where we did the chunking process. Second was interview process, where we divided the interview into two stages. And third is the GD, where we were discussing the sub skills, and we were formulating activities for each of the sub skills. What do you think is the common thread in all these examples? Did you see that there was some similarity in all these three examples, or the way the plan was designed?
Yeah, I think in three of them, the most common one was to the icebreaker one. That is the making the students comfortable before, so that
Mhm.
they could actually focus on what would be the next session.
Okay.
So they will be like excited to learn. Yes, we are going to learn this some sort of these activities today.
Hmm. Okay. Anyone else?
And what I feel is, ma'am, like as you have said, whenever we are introducing anything, we have to plan it and divide it into chunks. That would become
Mhm.
easy.
Mhm. Okay. Any other response?
Ma'am, can I speak?
Yes. Yes, please.
Yeah, it is basically the involvement of the student himself where they learn from each other.
Mhm.
Observation, they learn from observation and they themselves are involved.
Mhm. Yes, all three of you have given the right thread which has been established in these three examples, and the essence of all these three examples was to make you aware that when you do things step by step, and you provide support at each and every step, the learning outcome is better than what we get normally when you do it as a whole. Okay. So providing support at various stages of teaching a given topic, this process is called scaffolding. Okay. So as you must have seen, my topic itself talks about scaffolding as a pedagogical tool in communication. Scaffolding or scaffolds are tools or strategies and guides which support students in attaining a higher level of understanding. So, if a student learns something on his or her own versus the student learns something with the help of support, then the level of understanding is higher. And it comes from the word scaffold. It comes from the kind of support which is used in constructions. You must have seen that where a house is being constructed, it is supported by rods and bamboo poles. And slowly, when the structure starts getting completed, when it dries up, when the foundation is very strong, then the poles and the bamboo the rods and the bamboo poles are slowly, have seen that. But this is the structure, the support which is given while you are building a house, that is called a scaffold. And the entire idea of scaffolding in education is about this, that you provide support in the initial stage, but you provide support at each and every step. And as the learning happens gradually and slowly, you take away the support and you let the student do the task independently. The More recently, the concept has of scaffolding has been uh, broadened to include a multitude of different tools and resources that that are used as in instructional activities. But the it mainly comprises of three things, which I also referred to it initially. It comprises of action, it comprises of image, and it comprises of language. So when you combine all these three into your lesson plan, into the structure of your teaching plan, then it helps in increasing the learnability of the students. And with respect to this, there is a term called zone of proximal development, which was introduced by this Soviet psychologist and social constructivist Lev Vygotsky. And Lev said that the distance between the actual development level, as determined by independent problem solving, and the level of potential development, as determined through problem solving under adult guidance or in collaboration with more capable peers. What I'll do is I'll quickly share an image with you so that you will have a better understanding of it. Is my screen visible?
Yes, madam. It's
Right.
visible now.
So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
see this area, this green area is the area of what a child or a student can do by herself, okay, or himself. Things that we can do on our own. This is what things we cannot do, right? And this is the zone of proximal development. If I can do something on my own, and this is the circle with where I'm contained, if I receive support from somebody who is more learned in that area, it can be your friend, it can be an adult, it can be somebody else, maybe your parents, then you can achieve this level. Okay, so this level has been called the zone of proximal development. That once you receive support, once the learning is aided, once the learning is done with the help of somebody who has expertise in that area, then the process of development, the level of development of a student or a person increases from this to this. Okay, so this is what Lev Vygotsky had explained. And with respect to scaffolding, he has a method, it's a pedagogical tool which can help us in attaining that zone of proximal development. So why do students need scaffolding? When you are new to something, you are very unlikely to have any information available to you in your long-term memory. To demonstrate this, let me show you a photo, and then we'll discuss that. So this is a crime scene. A murder has taken place, and you have limited time. Okay, and within that limited time, you have to tell me who is the murderer. So look at this very carefully. Okay, did you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you tell me who's the murderer?
I guess
I
number
think the
first
beta.
is murderer.
Who? Which one?
First one.
First one, the
First one.
person with his back, okay,
Okay.
towards the audience. Any other response?
Maybe.
Waiter.
Wait.
The waiter.
The waiter? Any other
Yeah.
response?
Share.
Second one.
Ma'am,
Second
can
one.
you share the picture?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I'll do that again. 1 second.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So some of you are saying first one, some of you are saying second one. Some of you have also said the waiter.
First one.
First one. Okay. So you had limited time. You won't get more time. So waiter, the first one and the second one. These are the three responses that we got. Anyone else has a different opinion on it? Why do you think? Can you give reasons? Why do you think it's the first person?
I think left-handed is a murderer.
Okay, left-handed. Okay. Any other arguments? Any other reasons? Why do you think the first person is the murderer? Why do you think the waiter is the murderer? He was not even numbered.
Because he's a left-handed person.
And how does that make him a murderer?
He is using cell phone through left hand.
Okay, but
Because the
like,
waiter is the only one who's tensed. I mean, everybody is doing their own work. Everybody is busy in their own, they're happy that somebody is doing their own work, but it's the only one person that tension can be seen on his face and that expression change. Well, I think the waiterer is the murderer.
The waiter is also working.
the waiter is also working. He might be tensed because of his work. Is that a possibility?
Uh, Actually, the murder occurred on the right portion of the body.
I
Okay.
think the third person is the murderer.
Yes, yes.
Is it the lady or
I
the
think
third
that
person?
the lady is the murderer actually.
Third person is
Third
murderer.
person is murderer.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Third
which
person is
one
murderer.
side? Can you
Yes.
decide
Because
Okay, okay.
because
Madam,
the
why?
she
Can you
it is I
explain the
think it
reason?
is the she.
No, I am not
Ma'am,
giving
I
any
think
answer
first
to you.
person is the murderer. Maybe many persons are saying the same thing because he is appearing very differently from others.
Right.
Something weird.
Okay. So the thing is, I don't know the answer to it. Now, with this image is that unless you are a police detective or you have not really built up a schema as to look at a crime scene, then it's difficult to identify who the murderer is, right? Now, what we are doing right now here is our approach is that we are looking around and we are blindly guessing what may or may not be relevant. This is where, we stand today. When in a classroom, a student is exposed to a situation, a completely new environment, a completely new topic, and if we do not provide support to the student, this is what the student will do. He or she will blindly guess that, okay, maybe this is correct thing to do, maybe that is the correct thing to do, and they will do things accordingly, right? And this is where scaffolding helps. It helps in creating a schema. It helps us in providing required support. So just imagine if a student was aware of a crime scene, and the student, we had already built up a schema how to look at a crime scene as a professional or as a detective, then it would have been much easier for the students to approach the murderer or approach the case of looking for the murderer, right? So this small little experiment was just to show you that unless and until guided support is provided to students, they may fail to look at the right thing at the right time. Okay. Now there are several models of scaffolding, and one of the very popular models of scaffolding itself is um, I do, we do, you do model. Hello?
Hello, yes, madam.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, audible.
Okay, right.
Yes.
So the I do, we do, you do model, it states that there are 3 steps in any kind of learning. The first one is I do. The I do step is where the teachers think aloud and they model for students the process that is necessary to understand a learning concept along with the scaffolding, along with scaffolding the tasks. So what we do in this step is larger steps are broken down into smaller and more achievable steps. And teachers explain the reasoning behind these steps along with helping students see what they should know and remember. Basically, here in this stage, the teacher is doing the thing and the student is expected to see, watch, and learn. Okay. And in the next step, which is we do, in the we do step, the teachers and students they work together through the steps that the teacher modeled during the I do phase, and the teacher is more of a guide or a coach to help students try to do it independently, but they are also present there as the safety nets. So in the next step, what you're doing is you are collaborating with the students and you're saying, okay, let's do it together now. First, you did it, you showed it to them, then you say that, okay, now let's do it together. And when the student is doing, you are guiding the student at various steps and you are present there as a safety net. Students, uh, this is the step which is a precedent to the you do step. Once you see that the students have demonstrated the understanding of what you were trying to uh, teach them or to independently complete that task, then you move into the phase of you do. Then you leave the students independent. You let them practice the concept or skill repeatedly until it is mastered with automaticity. And while the teacher is still available as needed during the phase, it is often the phase of just repeated practice and even assessment. So, in this stage, what you are required to do is you just let the student do that task independently. You don't get involved much, but your job is definitely to give a feedback to the student in that case. And in each of these phases of I do, we do, you do, the teacher should be checking for understanding and verifying that the students are completing the task correctly so that misconceptions and errors are not being reinforced. For example, if a child or a student learns something which is wrong, and if you're not clarifying it, then probably in all these 3 steps, this misconception will uh, be reinforced and that will be taken forward by the student. So they have to the teacher, the educator has to be aware of this as well. And there's this very good lesson planning by Madeline Hunters. She modeled a scaffolding method based on the I do, you do, we do model, and it looks something like this. I'll show you.
Hello.
Hello, yes, yes, yes. One
Yes, yes.
second.
Okay.
Yes. So this is the model given by Madeline Hunter, and this is based on the I do, we do, you do model, and this is a schema for scaffolding. Now you can see that there are two triangles. One of them is inverted and one of them is straight. In her method, what she's saying that in the first step of I do, the teacher models a lesson or a teaching plan or a task. Okay, so we show it to the students and the students observe. Okay, then we move on to the we do steps where the teacher is guiding while the student is practicing. So this is the collaborative step where both the teacher and the student, both of them are involved equally. And then comes the third step where the teacher is observing. Now, the scaffolding has been done in these two stages, and this is the time when you have to just withdraw the scaffold. That process of withdrawing the scaffold is called fading. Boards are taken away when the structure of your house is erect, it's strong. You take that thing away and you just let it stand there independently. So that is the step where the teacher is observing while the student is applying that information or the learning into a task which he or she is doing independently. And one another thing that you will notice here is in the beginning of the process of scaffolding, the responsibility of the teacher is maximum. But at the end, it's the student's responsibility. Okay, so this is the model of scaffolding which Hunter has introduced, and it's being extensively used in classrooms. And one thing which I want to share with you is that the process of scaffolding is extensively used in classroom teaching for children. It's being extensively used. But in higher education, the process is not very extensively used. However, I like to use it in my classroom, and I have seen that when I was teaching at Johns Hopkins University, I saw that this was used in adult classrooms as well, and how effective it was. I understood that this was something which we needed in our Indian education system, because as I told you, we know that the batch that comes to us, it's always a mixed batch. So there are some students who are very good at it. They grasp things quickly, or probably because of their educational background, they are able to show the learning outcomes earlier than the other students. But there are so many students who need that support at each and every level. And it's because of this scaffolding method that you can actually provide them that support, and you can make the learning more comfortable, easier, and more effective. Now, at any point, it will be wrong to believe that all the students is at the same. For example, when you are at the level of I do, or when you are at the level of the we do process, there may already be students who are in the you do level, right? But there may be students who would still need the I do level. So you have to customize that according to the needs of your students. However, this is one model which can be applied to all the students in a given classroom. And I would like to just discuss few more things about scaffolds. There are two kinds of scaffolds. One is the soft scaffold and one is the hard scaffold. Soft scaffold are more dynamic. They are situation specific aids which are provided by a teacher or peer to help with the learning process. And the hard scaffold is the static support which can be anticipated and planned in advance. So now these three examples which I gave you was an example of hard scaffold, because we have anticipated that the students may face problems at these levels, and that's why we have designed a structure or a classroom lesson in a way so that these hurdles are easily crossed by the students. So that these are the examples of hard scaffolds. But when students have started doing things easily and you are still giving feedback, becomes a part of the soft scaffold. Okay. So some of the various strategies of scaffolding is show and tell. One of them is show and tell. So you saw the example where small of group of students were involved in GD and others were making observations and they were taking notes. So that is one thing where the you are showing and you are telling the students. Other one is tap into prior knowledge. So if you remember that example where the icebreaker activity included listing the difference between face to face conversation and email writing, and we asked the students that how emails were different from letters. That is where we are tapping into the prior knowledge, and that is where we are building a connection between what the students already know and what the students are required to know more than this. Then use of visual
Excuse me,
aids.
ma'am.
Yes.
Can you repeat the soft scaffold, please?
Soft
Soft
scaffold.
scaffold.
Yes, soft
Yes,
scaffold
ma'am.
is
Yes, ma'am.
when the students start doing their tasks independently, but you are still giving them feedback at various levels. That is a soft scaffold. For example, a student is writing an email but then asks you that, ma'am, how should I end it, right? The person has done that task independently and has written an email on a different topic but has a doubt about it, and you are still assisting that student, right? So that is a form of soft scaffold, and it's very dynamic in nature. As and when the student writes or does an activity, you give that feedback continuously, right, dynamically on the spot. That is a soft scaffold. But when you decide, everything is pre-decided that this is how I want to teach, this is what my schema would be, this is how my class would run. I would do a 5 minutes of icebreaker, I would do a 10 minutes of this activity. When you have anticipated that these are the problems that a student might face while learning this particular task, then that becomes a part of the hard scaffold. Okay. So another strategy of scaffolding can be use of visual aids. So in the interview method, I have told you that playing a relevant video, a video which is relevant to the topic, can help in building the context, and it can also be an example of show and tell. And then asking relevant questions. So what are the things that you would like to know about a person while interviewing him or her? This is something which we included in the mock interview session, and it comes under asking relevant questions. Now asking relevant questions doesn't mean that you have to always have a schema for it. Even if you're not scaffolding in any classroom, I believe asking relevant questions is very important, right? And role play is my favorite, and I actually have seen how students also get involved in a role play and how well they learn when they are uh, whether they are part of that role play or whether they are watching others doing that role play. Hello.
Yes, yes, madam.
Yes, yes. Okay. So some of the benefits of scaffolding is that it reduces the negative emotions that students may experience while attempting a task which is difficult, or feeling demotivated or discouraged. So if teachers have provided effective scaffolding strategies, then students they will already have the knowledge that they need to complete the task, and they feel confident in their abilities. And another benefit of scaffolding includes keeping students focused and motivated, and reducing anxiety that may arise due to mistakes. So while completing tasks or assessments, if scaffolding is provided, then students will view incorrect answers as an opportunity to maximize their learning. And reflection is a highly useful skill when perceived, uh, help students take advantage of their learning. So these are some of the benefits of scaffolding. And like I said earlier when we began this entire session, that it's just like riding a bicycle. You provide the support, you let them balance, you let them learn the entire skill, and then you leave them gradually so that they can ride the bicycle by themselves, and they can be independent. uh, they can ride it independently. So what I am expecting is to, we try to maximize our own efforts of trying to teach the students how to prepare biryani, rather than, teaching them how to prepare rice and expecting them to prepare biryani. So that is all from my side. If you have any queries or doubts, you can please feel free to ask me.
Yes, all the participants are asked to have if they have any query, so they are welcome to ask. Yes, is there any query?
Ma'am, I have one query.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah,
Hello?
ma'am,
Yes.
many a time it happens, or hello. Yeah,
Yes,
ma'am,
I can
many a
hear
time
you.
students share certain views that during the interview certain irrelevant questions were asked. So, how to judge whether a question is relevant or not relevant? Because somewhere there is a mindset within the student that in an interview, topics or subjects related to the course content is mainly asked. So, how to guide student in that situation?
So I think what you should tell them, that anything that is being asked in an interview, nothing is irrelevant in an interview. So in an interview, people don't judge your knowledge about your subject. They will also judge your uh, behavior. They will also judge your personality. They will also, they might have different requirements. Probably they are just looking for somebody who will be who will retain that job. So we will look at how stable you are, how likely you are to stick to that job. So there is nothing in an interview which is asked and that's irrelevant. So you have to tell them that whatever is being asked, you have to be first of all honest to yourself, that okay, this is what I would do in this situation. Um, and like we say that we are so used to learning things according to the syllabus, that anything which has not been taught in the classroom, or that has not been discussed in a book, we feel that it's out of syllabus. But actually we have to inculcate this idea of learning in students, that nothing is out of syllabus. Like, you can be asked anything and you should be ready to learn anything. And it's okay if you feel that it was irrelevant, couldn't answer, that's fine. But you shouldn't go with this mindset that this was irrelevant. You should be coming out with this mindset that okay, I was asked this question and I was unable to answer it. So next time I'll make sure that I have an answer to this question.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, is there any query? Yes, if have somebody has any query. Dr. Somnath Todaria has raised his hand for a question. Yes, anyone? Okay.
Okay, I don't think they have any further
Yes,
questions.
yes, yes.
I
because we
hope you
all
understood this
discussed.
concept of scaffolding and you would introduce it somewhere in your classroom. It definitely is a long process. It's more tedious than the normal process that we take. But I ensure you that the learning outcomes are much, much better than what we achieve with the help of that normal process.
Okay. Thank you so much, madam, for giving your valuable insight on scaffolding as a pedagogical tools. And we are sure that the tips which you have given today to conduct group discussion and mock interview, which would be beneficial to improve our communication skills of our students. Thank you so much, madam, for
Thank you so
sparing
much for
your
having me.
precious time.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure talking
Yes,
to
it
all of
was
you.
pleasure to us. Same with us, madam. Thank you so
Thank you
much
so
again.
much. Yeah, have a good day,
Thank
all of
you,
you.
ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you, madam.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And have a
Thank you,
nice
Thank you,
madam.
day.
ma'am.
It
Actually,
was
we
a
understood
wonderful
the topic
deliberation,
very
ma'am.
better.
Thank you. I'm glad. Thank you.
Okay. All the participants would be joined to our next session at 11:45.